Welcome to the African Youth SDGs Summit. This summit is a fantastic opportunity to reaffirm the perspective of Africa's largest population, young people, and their role in achieving a better future for all of us and for future generations.
SDGs.
2 years ago, we started a journey right here in Ghana, and today we have gathered together in our numbers from all over the continent to continue with the journey that we started to position young people appropriately within the discussions and works as far as our sustainable development goals are concerned. On behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, who is also co-chair of the UN Secretary General's eminent group of advocates for the Sustainable Development Goals, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you.
It is humbling for us, the leadership of Youth Advocate Ghana, the 2030 Youth Alliance, and our co-host UNFPA Ghana office, to see that what we started with many of you a year ago has become the rally point for fresh ideas, performance tracking, and accountability.
The second summit builds on the outcome of the first summit, moving the discussions from policy to actions in achieving the SDGs in partnership with government, with civil society, with the private sector and development partners.
So we are already at the end of year 3 of the 15 years to 2030. So it is certainly important that this be our shared focus. Action, implementation, and accountability for results.
This continent is home to several of the world's best development and social development policies. Ghana, my own country, is a learning center for several countries on the continent and the global south, who come to learn from us, but soon overtake us. Why is it so? We seem to lack the energy to follow through implementation of policies with the needed political, social, and resource commitment required to advance policies from documents to people's daily lives.
For sure, we will not be able to realize the Africa we want by the Horizon 2063 if we do not invest in young people. There is no way the international community to succeed in the SDGs if we do not invest in young people.
We can no longer afford to leave young people behind. If we want effective humanitarian action and hope for the future, we must embrace the full participation and priorities of young people. Investing in young people is an investment in humanity.
Oh man, it's very, very exciting. So I was here for the Maiden Summit, and even then it was one of the most inspirational moments of my life. And now this year it's bigger and it's a lot more deeper. I think the conversation about what young people can do to move things from policy to action. Because as you know, Africa is a land of lots of policies, but they never get implemented. And so I think it's important that we're getting real about what it's going to take to act and transform this continent.
When we look at Africa, and let's say we look at 2050, even now, we're going to have literally a quarter of the world's population on this continent. of which then sort of the active youth for the world, we're going to have, nearly 35 to 40% here. So it's going to be an incredible market, incredible resources in terms of human capital. And the challenge really for us today and then is whether we can transform this demographic blessing into a blessing or into a land where we are sending our people out because we are not opening up opportunities.
Our experience around the world, and especially in Africa, is that whenever you give the opportunity to young people to co-create solutions to address social issues related to the SDGs, it's amazing, the amount of creativity and innovation that they show.
For me, I have only one issue that I want to talk about, and it is to highlight the challenge of inequality that is perpetuating the kinds of problems that have been highlighted in the various groups that I've had opportunity to participate in during the past 2 days. Be it gender marginalization of women, be it youth being crowded out of the political space, it's all underlined by the one single issue of inequality. And why am I talking about inequality? Inequality is increasing globally, and it is determining who has access to the productive resources to make you who you want to be.
As a student, the aspect of the SDG that is so important to me is the number 5. That is the gender equality. I'm very much concerned about that point because in these modern times, even in those past years, women were not respected. They were just discriminated in terms of job marketing, decision making, education. They were deprived in their various areas to hold positions just because they are females, they are women, they'll be growing and they'll be getting married to their husbands. But now I think everything is changing. We need to empower females and even women to take leadership roles in our country.
Over the years, women have been marginalized when it comes to empowerment. We say gender equality, but is it very true? Because most often, men are always on the front view, whereas women are left behind.
I believe that when women are given their rightful place in society, this world will become one of the best places we can ever be. And women in authority have the ability to make things work. It's hard for you to bribe a woman, but it's easy for you to bribe a man. So when women are in leadership, things work.
I mean, the Second African Youth SDG Summit has been really, really impactful. I'm super amazed by the outcome of this conference. For me, there's been a lot of take-homes, right here, starting from yesterday and today's session as well. This platform has given us an opportunity to get to meet other African young leaders doing phenomenal stuff. There's really hope in our continent. There is hope for our continent, and I actually believe in Africa. I mean, looking at the number of Africans who have had to travel down from different countries to be here for this conference shows us that there's hope for Africa, and I am happy I didn't miss this conference.
I think as young people, when we live here, we need to stop being stagnant, put into practice all the conversations that we've had, because in essence, we need to start being active.
So there's a lot I've learned, and a typical that I want to share is about how the youth of today are to hold the government accountable for every promises that they have promised, and to ensure that the things that the government has said it is going to do, it is doing them, and to be a forefront or people who are ready to arise and ensure that the right things are done. We also learned that we have to be agents of change wherever we find ourselves. And going from here, as a teacher, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Finally, today personally, we learned about agriculture, agribusiness. And I think one problem we have is always complaining about unemployment. I think it is time for the youth to dive into agriculture because there is much potential in that, and stop relying on government solely for to be employed into some so-called white-collar jobs which do not exist.
There's one message that keep on coming, and that message is something like accountability, engagement to hold government accountable of the implementation of the SDGs. And back in my country, my institution is also already working around issue of using social accountability approach in making sure to hold government accountable that relates to service delivery. And going back home, I'd like to encourage my colleagues that are into different programs to reinforce their different interventions in making sure that their intervention is tilted around the sustainable development goals, and not just tilted around, but also be able to use their various activities to making sure to hold government accountable.
I think it is developing as one of the important youth summit on the continent. And actually I do think that beyond Africa we are also looking at what is happening in Ghana right now. And I do think it is a very, very strong voice that with the support from the presidency and everybody here, that people elsewhere are being inspired and trying to pick up on what is happening here now. And I don't think you can ask for more than that.
The best thing for me was the closing plenary on technology and the SDGs, because technology is expanding to so many corners of the world, and it is a key aspect in the successful completion and achievement of the SDGs.
Human rights and the SDGs, and who are we leaving behind? That's the key question for all of us. As young people, we are fighting for and to ensure that the SDGs are achieved, ensuring that the human rights of all people are protected, including young people. But one key question we keep and we need to keep asking ourselves is, who am I leaving behind? In our section, we came out with a key lot of people that we think that we are leaving behind in our quest to ensure that the SDGs are achieved. One of these key people are persons with disability. How many disabled people have we seen around here? And how accessible is this place to people with disability? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. We are thinking about people living with HIV. Persons living with HIV who are hiding and being discriminated against. And they don't access services because people are discriminating against them. Yes, we can talk about all the brilliant ideas that we have to make things change. It is not just the policy or highlighting the problems that will change anything. We need to commit the necessary resources to transform the status quo to what we want to see. And in terms of this, one of the single most important instruments for redistributing resources is the budget, the national budget. So in moving from policy to action, it will require that we get our various governments, be it at the national level, at the regional level, at the provincial level, or at the community level, to commit resources to the issues that matter to us most.
So the SDG goals, we've taken it quite seriously, beyond the fact that our president is a co-chair of the Eminent Peoples. It's also the realization that this whole 5 Ps of people and planet and prosperity and partnership and peace is really at the core of sustained